Yeah, good afternoon, friends and comrades. All protocol observed. I know if it was Igor, I was going to start from a long list. I want to do the list, but I want to observe all the senior leaders and all the members of the Forum for Democratic Change who are here. But also appreciate my sister Salam and her team for extending the invitation to come and talk to this August audience. I'm very, very humbled and honored to be part of this conversation. I was asked to come and share with you my thoughts about mobilizing and organizing for change. And therefore, in the next, April, how much time do I have? How much time? Enough time within the circumstances. Okay. So in the next about 30 minutes or so, I really want to share with you very specific things. One is to give you my thought about the nature of the problem. Because when we're talking about mobilizing and organizing for change, it means that we are trying to change from something to something better. So I want to spend some time and explain from my understanding, and because I've been doing research, I've been practicing, I've been moving shoulder to shoulder with forces for change, whether it's FDC or all the other groups. So I want to share with you what is the nature of the problem that we are dealing with. Number two is to really deal with how then do you confront that problem. What are the tools are at our disposal as citizens to deal with that problem? Number three is to look at a forward-looking agenda. Because quite often, those of us who are not happy with the situation we are in, we actually spend a lot of time agonizing about the past and the present, and we forget about what is the future that we are looking for. So those are my presentation or my discussion today is going to be focused, is going to be organized around those three parameters. First of all, what is the nature of the problem that we are dealing with? I think that's if there's one of the things that I always share with Dr. Messenger is to say we are dealing with a very sophisticated dictatorship in this country. A very sophisticated dictatorship. I also want to emphasize from the beginning that dictatorships, actually dictators, because sometimes also when you put dictatorships, you miss out the real point. Dictators love elections more than democrats. They like elections. Why do they like elections? They like elections because once their source of legitimacy keeps on diminishing, because your source of legitimacy as a leader comes from the people. Once that source of legitimacy keeps on diminishing, then you only have elections as the only legitimating factor. So in other words, you have built the infrastructure to organize election, count the vote, announce the winner, or actually announce the loser as the winner, and you have the military and all the security infrastructure to guarantee that the loser who has been announced as the winner is the winner. That's how dictatorships operate. And that dictatorship, sometimes when we talk about dictatorships here, people very quickly associate it with Museveni. No, even each one of us here, once you become a dictator, that's how you will behave. Yeah, because that's the character of dictators. But how do you then build a dictatorship? And that is important for us to understand. If you are going to organize and mobilize for change, you need to first understand how do dictators build dictatorships. Dictators build dictatorships by focusing on two things. One is to demobilize and destroy institutions of state. The second one is to demobilize and destroy institutions of citizenship. And these two are critically important for all of us Ugandans, all of you guys who are members of Forum for Democratic Change. We need to be able to understand these two issues. One is that dictators will destroy institutions of state and they appropriate them. So in other words, they become the state institutions themselves. Because what do we mean when we talk about institutions of state? We are talking about the institution of the executive. The executive is the presidency, is the military, is the police, the intelligence, and then the technical agencies that organize around that executive. So an institution like the National Environment Management Authority, many of you know it, NEMA, is an institution of the executive. The executive is able to run a country, implement policy through these institutions. Institutions like National Roads Authority, those are the institutions that the executive uses. So whether the government runs is going to depend on the quality of all these institutions. So what dictators do is to be able to appropriate all these institutions and almost personalize them. And all you will see is begin to see the dysfunction of that executive. Now, I'm sure that all of you here agree with me that the executive arm of the state of Uganda is basically largely dysfunctional because it has been only monopolized and personified in President Museveni. So all you see is a president with no institutions. Because you see, if National Environment Management Authority was functional, or Kampala Capital City Authority was functional, then you wouldn't have a tragedy like we have at Dictators. That would never happen, my friend, the road mayor. Yeah? There is no way you can have an institution like NEMA, like KCC, and they are working, and then you have citizens being buried by garbage. And the tragedy is that the first response, if you follow the Chitezi, the first response for Chitezi was President Museveni to write a letter, sympathize with those who lost their people, announce 5 million shillings, 1 million shillings. The fact that as a country we are even able to accept that from a president shows you how broken we are as a country. And that is the nature of the problem that we are dealing with. But you can also look at the other institutions. The police. You ask yourself, do we have a Uganda police force now? The intelligence, does the intelligence work for Uganda? The military. And the unfortunate thing is that all these institutions, they have very professional, committed, patriotic men and women. But what it means to destroy the institutions of state is that individuals that are aligned to a single person called the dictator become the main active elements in those institutions, and then they are able to appropriate those institutions that work for an individual. That's basically, that's why you find that you can have the security agencies abduct ordinary citizens and there is nobody who is accountable because all those institutions have been captured. And by the way, sometimes when I meet most of you guys who contest for political office, that is part of the problem. Because if you are contesting for an MP anywhere across this country and you are contesting on the FDC ticket or the ANT ticket or the NUP ticket, you are not only contesting against the other candidates from NRM, you are also contesting against the police, against intelligence, against even the LCs that probably are paid by your tax money. So that's the crisis that you are dealing with. So sometimes you choose to go and contest because you want to be an MP, but actually your opponent is more than just a person that you are seeing, because all the resources of the state have been organized and mobilized against you. Then we have the legislature, where Ibra and all the others belong. And all of us, most of us who have been here know that the legislature that we have to do today is a parliament really of people who are also trying to survive like all of us. Yeah? I mean, I don't sit back in my house, even in my office, and I say, I have some MPs that are going to look out for me as a Ugandan. And the things that are enacted, the laws that are enacted, they are going to, they're going to help me. So in other words, that institution has been enacted. I also need to mention that you can't have a parliament where a speaker is accused of robbing money from Ugandan taxpayers, and the speaker is sanctioned internationally, she can't travel, and still you